Okay, so this afternoon I thought I'd talk a little bit about Nipa Laboratories and what I did there in my first job as a chemical engineer way back starting end of September 1997. Um, I was cycling in France when I got the interview offer. I had two. They both up near Pontypridd. One was in Llantwit Fardre, and the other one was in Church Village down the road. Um, so one was a job offer um, using iron oxide, which is a very fine powder, and testing filters for aviation fuel. And I was told I'd have to sign the Official Secrets Act if I wanted to work there. So I don't know whether that's anything to do with chemicals being sprayed into the atmosphere by airliners, but it was state secrets. There's state secrets, not commercial secrets. There were state secrets. I had to sign the Official Secrets Act to work on fuel filters at airports. And then the other job offer that I had, because I got job offers at both interviews, was was the chemical engineer at Nipa Laboratories in Llantwit Fardre, and so I took that one because there was more process equipment there. So it was more chemical engineering. It's the fine chemicals and biocides division of British Tar Products, and I was cycling along in France. I'd gone on the ferry from Portsmouth to Caen, and that's where I met Florent Montbrun, and he invited me back to stay at his place because his son was away with his wife because they'd split up, and so I stayed over with him, and we had Calvados, and he played the accordion, and he was teaching me French and explaining the jokes for the French Benny Hill on the telly, and showed me all around Caen, and oh yeah, he's a really nice chap, and then I went off along my ways along the Normandy beaches to eventually got to Le Mont Saint Michel, and that's where it was on the television the Lady Diana had died. Now the only thing I could say was that somebody mentioned to me there was a stalker stealing tent pegs, and I did lose a lot of tent pegs, but in those days I was so happy-go-lucky I didn't even notice it. I didn't get any attention, and I just bought some extra tent pegs, to keep me going. And I just think, well, yeah, you go around the tent, you pick up, you take them out, and then you always seem to have got less, but didn't really think about it. And so somebody mentioned to me there is a stalker who looked a bit mean and serious, who was taking tent pegs out from around your tent. Anyway, later on I was in Rennes, and I phoned home and found out I'd had this job interview offer, so I went back to Wales eventually from Carnac on the south coast of Brittany, where I'd cycled to, and got the job. Took the job up end of September 1997. So drove up there every day from Llanelli for a while, and then moved into a flat right on the corner, you know. But there were always people issues with um, rude behaviour, and usually when people are completely unreasonable and very rude and systematically dishonest with you, it's because Prince Charles has paid them bribes, because he's jealous, because I had a proper job as a chemical engineer and he's unemployable, and he was making trouble, you know. So it seemed to me that I just have to stick to the facts, what actually happened there, and it's up to them to explain that they weren't paid by Prince Charles to do it, and that they normally behave like a load of dumb animals up the valleys, and there it is. So the main part of my job was to look after the P2 methanol recovery column. Now that was 3 stories high, okay, and it had a job where a mixture of water and methanol, water and methanol would come down from a process going on in batch reactors up the top, and they come down in a pipe through a receptor tank and then into storage tanks and then fed into the distillation tower, and then you would get a top product which would be 99% methanol, not more than 1% water, and then a bottom product which would go to the effluent, which would be not more than 1% methanol, 99% water. And there was para-hydroxybenzoic acid in it, okay, which made it brown and sticky and dirty looking. Now, Gareth Vawkins, nicknamed the Viper, whose project it was his project, so he could show the people at Cadishead in Manchester that he could bring in an investment project with a 3-year industry standard payback on £500,000 investment on this distillation tower, you see. And before, it had been there 2 years before I got there, so this 3 years was running out, you know, and the accountant was thinking, well, it's not covering its costs in 3 years, you see, and that's what it's supposed to do, that's what you're supposed to do. There is such a thing as an accountant's rate of return, which is a little bit more sophisticated, but for your sort of bog standard industry managerial type, you know, that's a little bit too fancy, and you just go, well, whatever you spent on it, it's got to pay for itself in 3 years, 3-year payback period. Okay, so that's your kind of your rule of thumb. Now, Gareth Vawkins hadn't mentioned to QVF, who built the distillation tower, that there was para-hydroxybenzoic acid in the feedstock, and he did it deliberately, he said, because they would just bump up the price. Okay, and he had a blackmail threat, QVF, because there was when they put the distillation tower up, the packing, which is sort of sandwiched in between the glass sections which are bolted together, slipped out from the bolts and crushed, and obviously it's useless, so it had to be dismantled and put back right, so that the packing inside it was as it should be, as designed, you know. And that has nothing to do with the para-hydroxybenzoic acid, but Gareth Vawkins had a ring QVF, and he said, if you don't come back and put it right, because they were saying it's your contractors, your problem, we didn't make the FOOP, you see. There's an engineering term, an FOOP, which means a mistake, and they said it's not our FOOP, and you'll have to put it right yourself. And he threatened them. He said that if you don't come back and put this distillation tower up properly, I am going to ring round the whole of British Tar Products, and you are never going to install one piece of glassware with any of us ever again. So QV had to come back, you know, the Dutch firm, put the packing right in the distillation tower. So it was built 2 years before I got there, and the engineer before me was called Steve Blow. What happened there?